This is supporter only Tittle Tattle episode 74, the weekly media analysis show that Bill Doris and I do, again, for supporters only on ROKFIN, Locals, and Patreon. But if you're watching this and you're not a supporter, lucky you. Today, you get a little bit of taste of what Tittle Tattle is like so that you can decide whether it's worth signing up on one of the other platforms to support and then get the full stream. So just a heads up, we're going to be cutting this pretty soon, and it will only be available in full as the supporter-only show that it is on Locals, ROKFIN, and Patreon. So today, Bill and I are talking about Stanford students demand journalists remove their names from stories after targeting other students by name. And it says this is an interesting development in the controversy at Stanford Law School where U.S. Circuit Court Judge Kyle Duncan was shouted down by law students and condemned by a law dean for discussing the conservative judicial views. I'm going to grab the producer.
Yeah, and again,
while going to be joining us.
Why is he wearing Freddy Krueger's shirt? What's going on there?
I don't know. And you know what else? This says baby MVP. Come on, Bill. Get with
baby
it.
Baby MVP.
Yeah. And on top of it, I'm kind of wondering what's going on. Is it public? Why am I seeing 0 people?
Oh,
yeah, public. Why am I seeing 0 people? Tell me if you're watching this somewhere, because it says 0. Anyway, Davina Duckworth is definitely seeing it because it says call the wambulance. And that's right. That's what producers do. They just wow, 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 wow. Anyway, speaking of wow, 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 it says that, okay, I'm going to just try to basically like sum it up for people, all right? From what I understand, this guy, U.S. Circuit Court Judge Kyle Duncan, goes to speak at Stanford. He's brought in by, the Federalist Society? Is that what they call it?
Right.
Okay. And, conservative group, probably not very popular on the campus of Stanford. And so the student protesters come in as they are wont to do, and they start screaming, and this guy gets taken off stage. And then the dean comes on and essentially apologizes and says that that basically this was like an embarrassment. You know what? Here's the write-up that Jonathan Turley did, who I've tried to get on the show, but he's a Fox News contributor and says he's under contract and can't do it. So he writes, however, that this is what he was planning on speaking on. This is a judge, the Fifth Circuit in conversation with Supreme Court, COVID, guns, and Twitter. And it was going to be an interesting conversation about, what does he think versus the Supreme Court on these topics? Again, COVID, probably a lot of, constitutional rights related issues. Guns, once again, that, and then Twitter, free speech. So, Second Amendment and then free speech. And the students prevented Duncan from speaking. The judge asked for an administrator to be called in to allow the event to proceed. And then the dean then takes the stage, but instead of saying, shut up, this guy was brought in, you're being rude, let him finish. Mm-hmm. This person says that the judge or attacks the judge, it says, for seeking to be heard to somebody's objection. So here's the quote. I had to write something down because I am so uncomfortable up here. And I don't say that for sympathy. I just say I'm deeply, deeply uncomfortable. Thank you for letting us know. And then also says that it's uncomfortable to say that for many people here, your work has caused harm. Says that about the speaker. And so then, basically says like you've harmed a lot of people as this judge who's ruled in a particular way. Okay, so there's that. Now, let me show you this because this is where it gets really interesting. The Free Beacon reported that this is what the protesters had done on campus. Okay, can you see this picture? They had basically put the students in the Federalist Society's board. You should be ashamed. So all their pictures and their names, they put that up all over campus. And then when they write up about it, who did that? The same students, this is Aaron, a reporter over at the Free Beacon, the same students who plastered the names and faces of the Stanford Federalist Society all over the school are now demanding anonymity from the Free Beacon. They say we violated their right to privacy by identifying them. So that's the lowdown, Bill. And I guess at the end of the day, it's just like, well, as they say, rules for thee, but not for me. But just another case of students who say that this is this triggered them. The guy shouldn't have been there. And we're going to talk about free speech in a second, whether or not you think those students who shouted down the judge we're engaging in free speech. But first, Bill, I just want to hear what you think, because I'm going to leave you with this last, real fast, this last data point, okay? Because I thought this was really interesting. Going back to Zero Hedge, they have this report here. A chilling poll was released by 2021 College Free Speech Rankings after questioning a huge body of 37,000 students at 159 top-ranked U.S. colleges and universities. It found that 66%, pretty close to the devil's number, 66% of college students think shouting down a speaker to stop them from speaking is a legitimate form of free speech. And another 23% believe violence can be used to cancel a speech. This is roughly 1 out of 4 supporting violence. Okay, so before we get into the whole free speech part of it, let's talk about this, Bill. Students yelling, still in 2023, I can't believe we're still doing this, yelling speakers off stage.
Okay, I will agree with that. Yelling speakers off stage is one thing. However, I'm one of those folks that's kind of down the middle, and free speech is not free speech if you can't say the things that you want to say, as long as you're not inciting violence. I think that's one of those that's kind of pretty straightforward. However, and Allison, I've got it pulled up over here on my screen. You can't see it on your screen right now. Zero Hedge. And this is in all transparency because Allison and I, we've quoted stuff from Zero Hedge before.
Do you want to present your screen? You can do that. And I can
well,
show
no.
people.
You can actually bring up the or Zero Hedge. There it is. Scroll back up. All the way to the top. Again, this is presented by, somebody who is Tyler Durden. Okay. And anybody who's watched Fight Club before, Tyler Durden is clearly not a real person. So got to think a little bit about the source here. However, you do. You just do. But I did do my research, and everything that is presented, this is pretty much right on point. Here's the problem I have. I see all the time conservative speakers at events being shouted down by liberal people. I rarely ever, I mean, for every one time I see liberal speakers getting shouted down by conservatives, I see 10 conservative speakers getting shouted down by liberals. And it's not right. It's not fair on any account. It doesn't matter. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm still, go back to, I want to say it was obviously pre-COVID, maybe 2017, 2018, 2019. Milo Yiannopoulos, who, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy. He's a whack job. But he was I can't remember the name of the college, but that town in California, it almost burned to the ground when they tried to stop him from showing up.
You know what? In Washington, in Seattle, he was speaking when I was covering, I believe he was speaking on the night of the inauguration when Trump was inaugurated. I feel like it was the same day. And because there were all these students lined up to go in to see him, at the same time, there were these other protests over the inauguration. These groups clashed and somebody got shot. I was there. That's
Berkeley,
why I tell people.
Berkeley is the school that I'm thinking about in California, but you're obviously talking about the one.
But I'm just bringing up the fact that anywhere Milo goes, there's that. Apparently,
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But I would say that it's like whenever any conservative speaker, whether it's Milo Yiannopoulos, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, if they show their face anywhere west of the Grand Canyon, then it's a catch-22 because they should not be shouted down. There should be a free exchange of ideas and conversations. But at the same time, this is like the Alabama football team going west of the Mississippi. You have to expect to be hated. And you have to have the expectation of, I'm going to have to fight this fight. So if you're not prepared to fight that fight, then just don't do it. I'm all for fighting the good fight and standing up what you believe in, but there's also something to be said for poking the bear. And if you go into the bear's cave, well, you can't really have a whole lot of sympathy for somebody. And there's only so many times you can go into the bear's cave. It's like the scene from Monty Python and I'm not dead. I'm not dead. And yeah. What, it's just a flesh wound. Yeah. Well, no, you got your
Not
legs
dead
chopped
yet.
off, bro. So calm down.
Well, I think okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know, Bill. The question I think that people have is like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, just stop going to the campuses because you know what's going to happen. Is that what you're saying? Like, just stop going.
Well, stop
But
going to campuses west of the Grand Canyon.
yeah, okay, but then other people might say, yeah, but that's ridiculous. That you shouldn't have to
Yeah,
give up your abilities to have speakers come in for your group when other
agreed.
groups are funded with the same college, grant money and all. They get funded
Yep.
by these endowments and whatnot, and like
Hmm.
your groups are allowed to have people come, but other groups aren't allowed to have people come. I mean, that just sounds like a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster. So, but I hear what you're saying. Like on the other hand, hey, maybe you would send a louder message. I think, frankly, just don't go to the freaking school. I mean, if you're going to the school, fine, bring the speaker in and like light the
Mhm.
place on fire. But maybe if you've considered going to a school where they are going to scream at your speaker that you want to hear, maybe don't go to that college. I don't know. That's just my thought on it. Like, why are you giving
Yeah.
Stanford $250,000 or more over the course of 4 years so
Mhm.
that this kind of stuff can happen?
Yeah, I'm the first one to tell you college is the biggest con in American history outside of home ownership. Okay, now that's a story for another time. I don't want to start that battle. If you want to fight that fight, leave it in the comments and y'all can do that. I'm not here for that. But college is a huge con. It's the biggest money stealing scheme in the history of this country next to home ownership. But, either way, but Allison's right. Yeah, you should be able to have those speakers come in and not be shouted down or have your town burn like it was a BLM peaceful protest. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But at the same time, is it worth it? You can say that some of these people are brave for going into the mouth of the lion or going into the bear's cave, but those places are lost. And I'm sorry, I know there is such a thing as fighting a lost cause. There's such a thing as the Kobayashi Maru, a no-win scenario. And Allison and I, we're getting ready to wrap up our free live stream for everybody. And here's the thing. Allison and I are getting ready to have one of our epic battle arguments. But we're going to save that. If you want to hear her and I go at it, you've definitely got to come over to what platforms again is it?
Locals and ROKFIN. And then
There
it'll
you
be
go.
up later on Patreon. So we'll see
Yes.
you over there if you're a supporter. Thank you. And then also AllisonWinePromo.com pairs very well with one of our debates. Wouldn't you say, Bill?
Yes, there's nothing better.
50% off my favorite Malbecs and 50% off shipping, high altitude, and the Rogue Malbec named after me. No, it's not. I wish it was, but
It should be.
it should be. And then the one in the middle, the never before imported 92-point Malbec from almost 8,500 feet at 8,200 feet, right? 200-year-old vineyard, oldest vineyard in Argentina.
Mm.
And the final one, the Gaucho Malbec, slang for friend, Cumpa, that's the name of the company, but it's used by the Gauchos of Argentina, the Cowboys. So natural fermentation, zero filtration. You can't get these at the grocery store. Why would you want to anyway? And don't forget also that if you had too much Allison Wine promo last night, the best way to wake up is with twinenginecoffee.com/Allison. Coffee in, poverty out, they say, because they keep all the jobs local. You support a small family business, very pro free speech. They're USDA certified organic rows, all grown, harvested, roasted on site in Nicaragua. And if you're a tea drinker, also, you can get some Katura tea, which is tea that you make from the coffee fruit. It's a lot like a black tea, high antioxidants, low caffeine. I really like it. I actually had some yesterday. It's quite good.
Mm.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching it. We'll see you over on Locals